Really comes down to the escalation by police in New York City is so infinite. There's no way to contain the amount of consequence that comes from engaging police.
Every interaction with the police has come with an air of fear or intimidation.
Now, they're supposed to prevent situations.
They're instigating.
They're instigating and antagonizing.
Police officers catcalling women, speaking disrespectfully to women, being physically abusive to women.
And the cops just grab whoever they can. And usually females are easier to grab. it's like, it sounds crazy, but it's true.
But this is the kind of fucking struggle that we have to deal with being black in America.
Be careful about what you do in life or you're gonna go to jail, basically. No.
The mission statement of the New York City Police Department declares that NYPD officers aim to enhance the quality of life in New York City by working in partnership with the community to enforce the law, preserve peace, reduce fear, and maintain order. But how does the NYPD live up to this statement? The NYPD has historically and routinely demeaned, dehumanized, and abused Black and brown women. We're here to share those stories.
Bob Ganji, the director of PROP, the Police Reform Organizing Project. I started the organization about 7 years ago with a number of other New Yorkers concerned about abusive and discriminatory policing. The central goal of PROP is to expose and end abusive and discriminatory policing. So what are our plans for this week?
I think tomorrow we're going to Brooklyn.
We're here at the Brooklyn Court, hoping to hear from some women in the community.
So I'm Anatia. My pronouns are her, she. I'm 20 and I'm Mexican, El Salvadorian by nationality, and American because I was born here, and I have Native American ancestry from both of my sides. So yeah, indigenous to this land. As a trans woman, a woman of trans experience, I constantly have to feel like my body is being policed. They ended up basically saying, what is that? A girl or a boy? Is that an it? It was detrimental to me, especially it wasn't affirming to me as who I'm trying to live my life as at all. It made me feel very low.
After hearing from Alethea, we decided to do some research and dig deeper into the history of the NYPD's interactions with women. We caught up with historian and professor Clarence Taylor to learn more.
Now, women have been victims of police brutality just like, men. When we talk about police brutality, we're not just talking about the killings, we're not just talking about the maimings, but we're talking about the insults, we're talking about the everyday humilities that people of color face when they are confronted by the police.
Police brutality is not the only problem. According to the Cato Institute, sexual offenses are the second most common abuse of power by police, second only to excessive force.
So he's looking at my legs and licking his lips, and I'm like, oh my God, please don't arrest me. And I was panicking, and then he goes, well, I won't arrest you. He was like, you look good. You got a man? So the whole energy shifted. So now I'm confused. I'm like, you're here to I guess, figure out the problem and solve it, but now you're kind of hitting on me. It put me in a very messed up place in my neighborhood and mentally. So yeah, it does happen. I mean, you get cops hitting on you left, right, especially when they know you're in a compromising situation. Yeah.
Police continually utilize their positions of power to target women who lack the resources and political standing to fight back.
One of the problems with policing, not only in New York City but across the country, is the enormous power that police departments have, and it's unchecked power. And unfortunately, within that kind of culture, which becomes highly toxic because that unchecked power enables police officers to behave in abusive, disrespectful, and sometimes brutal ways without any consequences, without any pushback.
In 2017, Anna Chambers was pulled over by 2 detectives in South Brooklyn. The 2 officers handcuffed Anna and led her to their van, where they proceeded to take turns raping her. She was still in handcuffs. The cops never made an actual arrest or issued a citation. Both officers claimed the sex was consensual. Recently, in response to the Anna Chambers case, a law in the state of New York has been passed that prohibits police officers from having sex with someone in their custody. And today, it is still legal for the police to engage in sexual relations with someone in their custody in 34 states.
They might think it's consensual sex, but it's not. Because there's really no consensual sex when you're an officer and it's not.
This is Dorcine Sims, known by her friends as Munchie. She served time in upstate New York. We sat down with her to hear her thoughts about law enforcement.
The police came. Of course, I was kind of scared, and they were very rude and obnoxious and nasty. They roughed me up a little bit, twisted my arm way up to the back to the point where I thought they was going to break it. Took me to the precinct. I had like a little tennis skirt on and a shirt, put me in this cold room, sat me there for hours. Mind you, I think I was like 15 or 16. After they kept me there for hours, they eventually let me go. You know, I had so many bad experiences with police. Do I feel safe calling them? I wouldn't call them unless it was detrimental, severely detrimental. I wouldn't call them. I honestly speaking would not call the police.
The stories told by hit TV shows like Law & Order portray police officers as heroes protecting female victims from exploitation. The reality, however, paints a different picture. Biani Garcia, a transgender woman and activist at Make the Road, New York, has been arrested countless times on false charges of prostitution.
So basically what we have been seeing here in Jackson Heights is that police has been harassing transgender for doing sex work, or even if they're not doing sex work, they harass them because the simple reason of being trans. And that affects a lot because many of the trans community doesn't want to go outside and have like fun and, you know, like try to go to a bar or buy some milk at night. They can be arrested, and that's so horrific. As a transgender person, I don't feel comfortable like calling the police or talking to the police. They assume that every single person that is defined as a transgender is doing sex work.
Cayenne Dorshow, a transgender activist, founder of Glitz, Gays and Lesbians Living in a Transgender Society, and former sex worker, spoke with us about her experiences with the NYPD.
It's just never a good thing to hear the police, and always feared them as a child, especially because of my gender identity. My first interaction with the police was when I was first starting street work, sex work. But when I was doing sex work, it was survival. Mm-hmm. It was definitely survival. It was horrible. How they treat trans women, period, is just degrading. On December 18th, I was attacked. In my home, the police were called, probably by my neighbors. I was a complete mess. It wasn't good, it was terrifying. To further go into a police station and not only be misgendered, but asked about my body parts, and these are the conversations they were having behind the glass door, was basically talking about my transition, whether I transitioned. Did they know? Did they see? They criminalized me for my attack, and they got away with it.
Many women are standing up and fighting back. We met with Aisha Lewis McCoy and Jane Sampier from New York's Legal Aid Society to learn more about the legal side of these issues.
My name is Jane Robert Sampier. I am an attorney with the Decarceration Project at the Legal Aid Society. Oftentimes you'll have women who are being arrested, and their children are there, or women encountering the police, again, and their children are present, and police officers who are acting in just kind of vile, disrespectful ways, and in front of their children. For the most part, in most cultures, and even, you know, in our culture, we purport to really hold sacred this bond between a mother and a child, and that there's no consideration for that at all when we're looking at the criminal justice system, when we're looking at policing. Our children, you know, black and brown children are often, I mean, we see what's happening now, even through immigration, but that's been happening for years in this country when it comes to the devastation of families and the disrespect and disregard for the innocence of children and for a mother's ability to protect and care for her child. When I think about you know, the ways in which our clients are exposed to various, you know, abuses, in addition to, like, you know, the very clear-cut sexual violence, there's also the complete disregard for, you know, for their humanity and their personhood, right? So when we're talking about the criminal justice system, we're talking about a system where there is no dignity, there's no humanity in it. There's a devastation that you can't really describe.
So under New York law, if someone was convicted of either Penal Law 230.00, which is prostitution, or 240.37 sub 2, which is loitering for the purpose of engaging in a prostitution offense, if someone has a conviction for either of those offenses, and that conviction is from the time that they were under the control of a trafficker, I'll work to vacate those convictions and remove them from their record. Some of the additional factors that police officers are using are, or that they claim that they're using are, this is a known prostitution location, right? Right, because there are specific zip codes where prostitution takes place. It's like ludicrous. Typically, so we challenge these arrests in every single instance. But what we've seen is that it's not every woman standing on a corner that's getting arrested on these charges. It's specifically who these police officers believe are either trans women, specifically Black and Latinx trans women, or people who are femme presenting in the mind of a police officer, who are outside in public at times that they don't believe someone should be outside. So that could be any one of us in this room, standing on a corner, 2 a.m. Maybe my cleavage is showing. Maybe I'm wearing a trench coat. Maybe I'm wearing leggings. It doesn't even matter because the police can do whatever they want.
In addition to legislative change, many community activists are organizing protests, bringing the fight to the streets.
Many times we speak about the men that have been murdered by police, but we have to also say women's names and uplift them. So
when do we want it? Now! When do we want justice? When do we want it? Now! And if we don't get it, shut it down! If we don't get it, shut it down! If we don't get it, shut it down! Don't touch it!
Move to that side, move to that side, move to that side.
Why are you cousin? We are commemorating Sandra Bland, who was murdered today. I wanted to make sure and participate here because it's important to uplift Black women and Black girls. That's just something that's very important.
Women and girls, get off of her! That's sexual harassment. There's a lot of people I didn't mention. Chantal Davis was dragged out her car and shot like a dog on Flatbush during the same time that Kamani Girl was murdered. They recently closed that case and said there was nothing that they can do. This is an everyday situation. We have to rely on each other.
The fight is far from over. In our everyday lives, there are positive changes we can implement. Donating to local organizations that are dedicated to police reform, electing representatives with specific plans to limit the unchecked power of the police, and speak up if you see the police abusing their authority.
Stigma. Stigma and ignorance has a lot to do with the situation, especially when it comes to a male-dominated force like the police force. The harassment is real. So what is that like for a everyday person that is trans, that's in this world trying to maneuver through a system that is flawed itself when it comes to female identity.
Watching your loved ones suffer the indignities of mass incarceration and mass policing, and you in turn also experiencing some of those indignities in a variety of ways. You know, women of color, black women have been facing that for years. From slavery to Jim Crow to what it looks like through mass incarceration. And it really is just a matter of them attempting to hold their families together and being forced to experience that.
Just crazy. I think the world should know. I think the world should know that the system that they spend thousands and thousands of dollars for needs some kind of makeover or some kind of change to be implemented. Because the women endure grave injustice, to sum it up. And it starts from the arresting officers to the court officers, to the prisons, to the county jails. And it's not a good thing.
We must listen to women most impacted by harmful policing and empower them to speak out. It's up to us to hold our justice system accountable, to stand up for women's rights, and to put an end to discriminatory policing.
A nation can rise no higher than its woman. A nation cannot rise any higher than its woman. And